Hi, my name is Bob Allen, and I've been a truck driver for over 30 years. And what I want to explain to you today is the process of freeing up frozen brakes on a trailer. I'm going to show you the traditional way of doing it and a new inventive way that I came up with. Let's go to the trailer. The way they traditionally do it now is they pour the de-icing fluid into this little rubber glad hand. But you can see most of it spills on the ground. You got to kind of keep this in the upright position. It's kind of hard to get in there. So you only get a little bit in there. Most of it goes down your arm when it's really cold out or on the ground. So you apply the glad hand to the trailer and you go in the truck here and you push the red service valve. That red service valve supplies air to the back of the trailer. And it's supposed to blow that de-icing fluid all the way to the back of the trailer, freeing up the frozen valve. But the problem with the traditional way is you don't get enough de-icing fluid in the system to free up the valve because it evaporates on the way back. Now, the way you get frozen brakes is there's an accessory drive on the motor which delivers air to an air compressor that's on the motor. And the air compressor compresses air and it goes to an air dryer. The air dryer is great, don't get me wrong, air dryers are great to have on a truck, but they only take out about 90% of the moisture, and that other 10% ends up in a tank here that you have to bleed on a daily basis. And every truck driver knows he doesn't do it on a daily basis. I don't do it. So let's go back here. I'm gonna walk you to the back of the trailer, because if you haven't heard the trailer brakes release, then you got to pull out your torch and your hammer. And don't forget it, because you're going to need it. So we take the torch and the hammer and we go all the way back to the trailer. And you got to heat up the valve back there, trying not to melt the rubber seals in it. And then you take this hammer and you hit the slack adjusters to see if the drum has released itself, the brakes have released itself from the drum. So now that we're underneath the back of the trailer, we take this torch and we heat up the valve in front of the tank and the valve in back of the tank, but being very careful not to melt the rubber seals. If you melt the rubber seals, you got to replace the valve and you got to call a service guy. The valve's about 350 bucks. So you heat it up both in front and back of the tank, and then you take your hammer and you hit the slack adjuster to see if the brakes have released themselves from the drum. So if that hasn't happened, then you haven't got enough de-icing fluid to the back of the valve to free up the frozen valve. So you have to repeat that process 4 or 5 times. The object is to get enough de-icing fluid into the system so that the frozen valve could free up. What happens is the moisture that's in the line creates ice crystals. And that de-icing fluid, when it blasts it back to the back of the trailer, it melts the ice so the air can enter the tank to release the brakes. So now let's go up in the front and I'll show you the new way of doing it. This is the brake releaser. This is the 45 design. There's 2 different types. There's a straight version for flatbeds, dump trucks, and chassis. The 45 version is for vans and reefers. And let me show you how to attach it. You take the red service line off. You attach the brake releaser. Put it in that level position. You take the cap off. You connect the red service line back to the brake releaser. You pour a sufficient amount of de-icing fluid into the system. Normally 6 or 8 ounces is going to go in there. You screw the cap on. The cap's designed with these little ribs in it to help grip it, because everybody knows that a slick lid is hard to take off. So you tighten that up, you go into the front of the tractor and you hit the red service valve and it applies air pressure to the brake releaser, blast the icing fluid to the back of the trailer, freeing up the frozen valve. Now all that stuff you did around the back, that all goes away. How safe and simple is that? The driver is not underneath the back of the trailer. He's not worried about oncoming traffic behind him running into the back of him while he's under there. He's safe in his cab. Once he applies this, he comes and takes this brake releaser off. You never take off with the brake releaser attached to the trailer. This is just a tool, and it's just used to administer the de-icing fluid to the trailer. So you disconnect it, and it comes off that simple. You put it in your bag, along with all your other stuff, your safety glasses, so on and so on. With all that being said, I put all my stuff away. And I put it in my side box. I put it in my side box, and I like to keep it right next to my fire extinguisher, because it's as equally important as the fire extinguisher, because someday it may save my life or somebody else's life on the road. Thanks for letting me introduce to you the brake releaser. Have a great day.